Hey, it's Lance of 20-Sided Night.
And I'm Evan.
And today we're going to talk about what's probably the most important parts of playing tabletop role-playing games, whether it be Starfinder, D&D, GURPS.
Yeah.
How to actually find a group.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you're starting an essay. It's hardest to start at first, but once you get there, it's going. So once you get your group started, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, or when you're looking for bikes to steal for Jamali. But anyway, the few different options. The first is probably the most popular, looking for an in-person game. There's a few different ways to this, whether you're sitting in on a game at your local gaming store, looking for games on either Corkboard or Adventure League, or looking on online resources such as Craigslist, Meetup, or your own circle of friends.
When you're at your local game store, like a fine establishment like Haster Games, go there now. The best way to do it is to go ahead and just sit in on a group. Whenever we're playing, or I've sat in on a few games, if as long as you just ask like, hey, can I sit in, and you're cool, I've never had an issue with someone just sitting in on a game.
Yeah, follow the major social cues. Is try to hold any questions until after the game is over or until any breaks, and try to glean whatever knowledge of what they're playing just by observing what's on the table. If the book says Dungeons and Dragons on it, or if it's very fantasy looking, got a skeleton going on over there, you know it's Dungeons and Dragons. If it says Starfinder on the front, there you go. A few things also to take a look at is what books they are using in case you do want to jump in, such as the core rulebook of Starfinder, or whatever races are just in the player's handbook, or if you're using supplement material. Observe that before introducing whatever crazy rules you found online, typically because that's a big burden on DMs to try to make sure that's all balanced and see if it can fit into their game settings. And remember, you're a guest at that group.
Nothing ruins the mood if they're like a very serious, sort of like a, not like somber, but not really a chuckle boy group. You come in as like a wacky, like a half-bear cyber gunslinging monk, and it's like, yeah, there's like 4 wizards in our worlds, and you're just doing that, none of that.
And we're not even sure he's a robot, just threw dirt in somebody's eyes. It's definitely a good idea to observe the rules of the group first. I know as tabletop role-playing nerds out there, we are the epitome of high etiquette. And so if you're going to be joining our high esteemed committee, you gotta know the rules are cool.
Indeed.
Another way to join a table or a group is to look at Adventure Leagues. Most stores such as Haster Games or any tabletop role-playing store that sells 12 pounds of dice and some D&D books or what have you, they're likely going to have an Adventure League night set up. Ask your store manager or their owner or any employee there if they know where the board is. It's typically a set day of the week, and it's a pretty fun way to do it. They do run a lot of the pre-made campaign settings, such as Tales from the Yawning Portal or A Curse of Strahd, which is super fun. They do run off very structured rules, which could be great for new players if you are trying to learn the game.
Or I think if you really hate yourself, I think they also sometimes run a Tomb of Horrors.
It's Tomb of Annihilation now, but if they do, they're masochists and leave before they hurt you worse than you can hurt them in 1,000 years. There's also Yield Corkboard, which has been a mainstay for most of the games that I've joined and had the fun of DMing and whatnot. The Corkboard works the same as any other shop. There's a little thing of flyers like how you would see like a band. It lists off what day they'll be playing, what they'll be playing, and where. And you can write this up yourself, whether you are a group looking for an extra player or a player looking for an extra group. It's pretty self-explanatory, and it's a mainstay for most stores. Again, your local employee of your hobby store, they would have it there.
Yeah, or the virtual version of that is, like you were talking about before, there's Craigslist or there's Facebook group you could go ahead and look at. One thing to keep in mind is when you are joining one of these groups, you haven't met them before, I would always recommend meeting in a more public place. Like, and I know sometimes online meetups can have like a sort of an icky connotation for, reasons, but we made a game through Craigslist, and it's been a really solid group, really fun. We've been playing with them for a little over a year and a half.
Yeah, that's whole sweet is you play them every Sunday, and Meetup, Craigslist, stick to the strictly platonic sections of those sites, because you want to be playing Dungeons and Dragons. You don't want to be trapped in a dungeon with some great big Pollock named dragon.
Yeah, also, that's the mistake Marcel Wallace made.
Yeah, also if you are going to be meeting somebody just at their home for the first time, just one-on-one, make sure to bring protection, because you want to make sure that no matter where you go, you're staying safe. That's why it's always a good idea to make sure that you're playing, that you meet these people in person for the first time. And so that's a few good. Those are a few good options there for finding a group for the first time. The hardest, but which could also be the easiest, would probably be to try to convert your friends.
Yeah, it's one of those things where steps-wise, it's the easiest. Just find book, find friends, make it happen. But especially if they're not the sort of D&D types, it can be a harder sell. Like if you're a bunch of baseball boys. It's probably like, hey, do you want to play this nerd game? Might be hard to sell them on, especially because there are a lot of rules and expensive books you have to buy, but it's always pretty fun. We've had a lot of success with that as well.
Yeah, and as far as recruiting your friends go, this could also be a lot better than meeting new people, simply because say you do have a group of friends that have grown away, or you just haven't seen in a while because of who knows what's going on in your lives. Yeah, just life happens. And inviting some people that you miss over for a game of D&D, that could be a good way to rekindle some old friendships. So that's a bonus there. The next way of finding a group, if you don't want to go out in person, say your local gaming store is miles away and you don't want to have to end up burning through your gas money, or you just, once you're out of work, you're out of work, you don't want to go anywhere else, we'll be finding an online game. These are typically free, they're pretty easy, and you got a lot of options out there. One would be looking for a group through Roll20, or what's basically the Pepsi Cola Roll20 Fantasy Grounds, a lot of the other online gaming options that are out there. Or if you do look on several Facebook groups, or even join a Discord server to play some D&D and Starfinder. Yeah, like the one that's below. We're fine. I think some of us are cool. There's a lot of ways to play online, and with playing online, you do get the benefits of things being typically cheaper online. For example, if you are playing Starfinder, the PDFs are about $10 with the physical books are.
And they'll actually have the right information in it. Am I right?
Yeah, are about $50 or so. Just to buy the in-person one, there's a little bit easier to schedule, just because people are off a lot more and they're more willing to stay at home and play than they are going out. But online's a good option. I personally like being a player in person more, but online's a good option.
Yeah, as far as something, it can be cool. Or if you have friends who live far away, it's not bad.
Or you just don't have to put on pants. Either way, playing online, I would check out Roll20. They still do have the same options available, such as Adventure League Roll20 games, or if you're playing on Discord servers, there is ways to sort of join a Discord server and just sort of sit in on a game virtually, where you just listen in. Make sure to mute your mic so that people don't hear you breathing online. God, that's annoying. But it is definitely an option. The other side of the coin of looking for a game is looking for a game to run as a GM. Most of the steps are going to be pretty much the same thing, whether you're looking online or in person, going to local comic book shops, looking for old friends to play with, or posting something up on Yield Corkboard. Most of it's going to be the same. Yeah,
the only difference is going to be that for the Adventurers Leagues, anyone with a character sheet and some pep in their step, they can join the Adventurers Leagues. I do know for the Adventurers Leagues, if you are going to DM, there is a vetting process where they'll sort of sit you down and sort of get a feel for you, make sure you know what you're doing, because there is a little bit more of a commitment and buy-in. You have to know a little bit more than starting off as a player. Because you're the rules boy and so or girl, and you just got to know the rules more.
Yeah, definitely. And when you're GMing, know that there are certain things that make it a little bit rougher, because all the players, they do rely on you to run the game and also be on time. If one player isn't on time, yeah, sure, they're kind of the jerk of the night. But if the GM's not there on time, well, nobody can play yet. On top of that, if you are the GM, there's a few more materials you need to be prepared with, such as game supplies, backup sets of dice for some situations, the minis, supplying things such as maps, terrain, what have you. If you're playing Theater of the Mind, sure, you're going to be a little bit easier there, or if you're playing online, it's kind of you have a little bit more leeway there.
Even if you're using like Roll20, you have to learn how to do all the things like, okay, here's how you make your character go here, and here's how you floop the pig.
Yeah, definitely. So I would recommend either sitting in on a group and learning how to run a game first, making sure that you have at least some games as a player under your belt, or if you are new to it, running through an adventure path such as Tales from the Yawning Portal, or if you do want to put your players up against the Mighty Gauntlet, There is Tomb of Annihilation or Curse of Strahd. Running an adventure path first is a good way to get some solid ground beneath you so that you know the intricacies of how to structure a game, how to balance out role-playing, downtime, and combat encounters, and a lot more.
Yeah, or you can go ahead and, like you're saying, you could sit and watch DM play, or there's other things like there's different podcasts like that. Go ahead and watch us. And, Lance is our DM, and he's pretty good. Lance, how do you do it?
There's a bunch of different tips and tricks that I use when I do make the What Is Plus. Also, the most golden rule, I'm an alcoholic. Oh, that's not Lance liquor at all. That's vodka. Weak ass vodka.